The United States has recently rewritten the rules of its military commitments, and the immediate casualty is the defense of Europe. Under new directives from Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, the United States has strictly limited the assets it will deploy to NATO. In a military emergency, there will be no aircraft carriers, no precision munitions, and no logistical supply support. The official rationale is centered on the Pacific. The Pentagon is now hoarding every major asset for a potential anytime conflict with China, under the rule that anything needed there can never be deployed anywhere else. There is a secondary reality at play. Following the Iran war, the Trump administration has effectively acknowledged that the U.S. can no longer fight two wars at once. If every asset is pre-positioned for China, the capacity to intervene in Europe vanishes. For the members of the NATO alliance, this policy shift means that if a conflict breaks out tomorrow, they are isolated. To see why this is fatal for the alliance, we have to look back to 1949, when NATO was first engineered. It wasn't just a treaty, it was a system designed for a specific type of reliance. The blueprint established a clear division of labor. The United States would develop broad-area, long-range capabilities, allowing European nations to avoid those massive costs and focus their militaries elsewhere. This design had a strategic motive. By ensuring that European nations never developed their own heavy assets, Washington made their militaries permanently dependent on American hardware. Because the U.S. provided the long-range infrastructure that everyone else relied on, the command structure defaulted to American generals. If a hot fight started, the Americans would command every Allied troop on the field. The alliance was built around this single load-bearing pillar. Removing the United States yanks that support out, leaving the remaining architecture with no way to stand. This collapse is triggering a logistical crisis that starts with the weapons already on the ground. For decades, Europe prioritized interoperability, spending billions on hardware to plug directly into the American command machine. These weapons are built for long-range warfare, acting as part of a global American strike force, not independent tools for local border wars. If American forces aren't coming to command, there is no tactical reason to use those systems. Without the American command structure, these weapons lose their primary advantage. Europe's entire procurement strategy is becoming obsolete. They are left with a stockpile of hardware designed for a type of war they are no longer equipped to fight. If the Americans are gone, the obvious solution for Europe is to simply build their own heavy, long-range assets. But the industrial reality is working against them. It takes 10 to 15 years to build the manufacturing base required for high-end, American-style military hardware. But while Europe faces that decade-long timeline, the world is moving toward cheap, disposable drone technology that can be fielded in weeks. With a deteriorating security environment right on their borders, European leaders know they don't have a 15-year grace period to replicate the Pentagon. They are out of time. To defend themselves, they have to abandon traditional doctrine and invent a new military from scratch. What follows is a forced, rapid evolution of the European military. We are seeing a pivot toward Ukrainian-style warfare. This involves mass-produced weapons, like this drone, that can be built in weeks or months instead of the decades required for traditional jets or tanks. However, cheap drones cannot match the strategic deterrence of a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier. They can win a local engagement, but they cannot discourage a major power from launching a full-scale invasion. Because drones lack that raw intimidation factor, European nations have only one tool to prevent a total invasion: a shared, multi-state nuclear deterrent to backstop their drone armies. European defense is transitioning into a split system, swarms of cheap, expendable technology on the front lines, protected by a localized nuclear umbrella at the top. Within a year, the rift between American and European military forces will be too wide to bridge. The divergence is complete. Europe and the U.S. will operate with different weapons, incompatible command structures, and conflicting doctrines. They can no longer fight side by side. Washington's political decision forced Europe into procurement choices that make the alliance's end permanent. NATO's 75-year run is over. We are entering an era of strategic breakdown, and the Trump administration has ensured that Europe and the United States are on opposite sides of the new reality.